Aid's here from Pop Turn is speaking to Zenia Marshall about It's a Wonderful Knife, which is now streaming on Shudder and on AMC+. Welcome to the show. It's so good to see you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I love your Christmas sweater.
I know. Well, it's the time of year, and this is a fun holiday slasher. We got to talk about it.
I wish that they were mine. You should have told me. I would have joined the dress memo, you know?
No, it's super. I just got, as the host, you got to get festive because we're talking about a festive movie where there's someone slashing people, right?
Yes, very jolly. Very in the spirit.
What can you tell me about kind of the audition process? Do you audition for a lot of characters? Do you audition for one? Like, what's that like for you with It's a Wonderful Knife?
With It's a Wonderful Knife, it was so funny actually. I first auditioned for Bernie, and I went into it very differently than Jess looked in the very end in the movie. I got the breakdown and it just said weirdo. Basically, I don't know, nobody likes her and all these sad things, but she's really cool when you get to know her. And it was just this breakdown. I'm like, oh my gosh, I resonate with this. I feel like little Zenia felt this way at some point in time. So I dressed myself up the way that I would have back in grade, I don't know, anywhere from 6 to 8. And then I had all of these flowers in my hair and this long dress and this horrible mustard cardigan. It was a horrible look.
You went all out though.
I went all out. Yeah, very different direction. So that was Bernie. And then the second one was Kara. So that was the second one that came in. So that was a fun one. Definitely a different take on Kara too. Hannah plays her so much nicer than I don't know which way I went. I guess it was very Darla, they told me. So in the very end, they offered me Darla and they're like, hey, so actually we think you would be really good for Darla. You're a perfect Darla. I'm like, who's Darla? So then they send me the script and she's so mean and she's so bitchy. And
she's kind of the worst.
She's kind of the worst. And I'm like, wait, I make a perfect Darla? You.
Okay, well, let's say, is Darla the worst or misunderstood? Or the worst?
Well, in this movie, I guess she's not the worst because she's not the one going around killing people. But
she doesn't help the situation. She doesn't help the mood.
She doesn't help the mood, not at all. I think that in Darla's head, she thinks that she's a good person. It's just that she wants what she wants, and
100%.
She would rather get it now rather than never. So, yeah.
But you know, it's pretty crazy too because I find those are the hardest characters to play sometimes because the point is we're really not supposed to like this character, right? So we see Darla on screen and you're like, oh, the worst. But then when we say that, you're kind of you don't feel bad because you're that's the point. You know what I mean?
That's exactly that is the point. Honestly, the first time I got the script, I was just cracking up because of how unapologetic she was, and it just proved to me how much I think that in her head she just didn't even know that she was really wrong in what she does. So that was she has some great one-liners in there that I'm she has no idea how mean this sentence is.
100%. Now, in terms of kind of the genre of this, it's kind of genre bending down the middle, Zenia, because you have, comedy and, horror, because it is a slasher film, so you have the horror movie aspect of it. Focusing on the horror movie aspect of it, they've always been around. I've watched horror movies when I started in my teens, I was always watching them. They weren't as popular as they are now. So you're working on a movie at a time where there's a real kind of appetite for this genre. So what's that like from an acting perspective, working in horror movies now? You know what I mean?
Oh, it's so cool. I mean, before the project was way before it was released, when it was just announced, we were getting all these posters coming in from different horror movie fans, people that were just so into the horror genre and apparently do this a lot, and they're so talented. The posters were amazing, such great quality. I was like, oh, is this the actual poster? Like every time I would go on Instagram and be tagged, I'm like, whoa, is this the actual poster that dropped? And I'm like, oh wait, no, it isn't, but it looks hella official. So I don't know, it's just like so cool. It's like such a neat welcome into the genre.
100%. And I'm curious because they're different characters, different worlds and everything. But like, what is your mindset with preparation going into a project? Like, do you take things from past experiences to like new projects, even if it's not the same genre? Like, do you take things from One of Us Is Lying to It's a Wonderful Knife, or are they kind of separate projects or mindsets?
I think that they're completely different in a way. I mean, I guess that in a way, like just as humans, we take all of our experiences that we've been through before and we kind of like apply and then we learn, recalculate, and then apply more. But I think that overall, like every project is a bit of a separate entity, as long as it's a very separate character. And Darla was very different from Keely from One of Us Is Lying.
But it's all storytelling though, at the end of the day as well,
Yeah,
though, right?
exactly. It's all the storytelling, but definitely separate characters. So I feel like if they were more similar in characters, I probably would have brought a little bit more in. But
Yeah.
for Darla, I'm like, no, she's her own beast.
100%. And I do want to talk about your music, but the last kind of big one, It's a Wonderful Knife question focused on is like the house party, right? I mean, there's a lot like, and I mean, yeah, that was also fun because like everyone's there, right? Like you get to see
Yeah.
everyone and everything. What was that like specifically? Any funny stories from that shoot specifically?
There's oh my gosh. Where do I start? For starters, we're all like, there's so many night shoots in this, obviously,
Yeah.
that like everyone was just so hyped up on Red Bull and coffee. And it was just like, we're all like this at like 1 a.m. in the morning, like wide-eyed. And I don't, let me think. I would say there was a few fun moments that weren't even scripted. Like for an example, there was a scene where Jason, who plays Robbie, had to feed me like potato chips in a scene. And it was just like we're sitting there and Tyler came up to us and asked us like, maybe if you do that. And we're like, okay. So it was just like when we were filming it and just absolutely goofy.
The night shoots. It's the night shoots.
The night shoot, honestly. There was a take, it was when Jess and Jane were filming in their part of the room and they had their conversation going on. And this is before you see Robbie and Darla on the other side of the room. But while they were filming, we're just waiting for a cue, and Jason was sitting on the edge of the couch and he just like fell back and through the couch. And I was trying so hard to hold in my laughter because it was just like in the middle of their take. And I'm like, I hope they didn't hear that, but he just went boop, and I was like, I can't. I just need to hold it in. Need to save the take, and then we're good. Then
The
we're
house
good.
party scenes were awesome. And I don't want to go into big spoilers too, but like, there's like some really cool kills involving like the outside of house parties in this movie, and
Oh
like,
yeah,
and
lots of
like,
blood.
oh man,
Go
like
ahead.
strobe light killings, which is crazy.
I love that scene. I love it so much, and I'm so happy with the way that it turned out because on the day it was just a lot of flashing,
Yeah.
just like of the lights. So it was pretty neat to see that all cut together too.
And people can watch it on Shudder, which is like the horror movie fan playground right now. It's like that's so
Shudder,
cool.
Shudder, it's on there now.
I know, it's so crazy. And obviously like Taylor to interviews a little bit because you're also a singer-songwriter, you do music as well. Did you always know you wanted to do both, or did that kind of just happen?
I had no idea that I wanted to do acting until like maybe I think I was like 14.
Okay, so music was the first love then.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, definitely first love. My family, they're all musicians. My mom, she's a singer. My dad's a drummer. My sister's a guitarist. My other aunt is also a singer. So, yeah, like family of musicians, just like growing up around that. I'm like, oh, I don't know, like music was just such a big part of me. And so I started writing from a young age, but only started releasing my original songs a couple years ago. And it wasn't until I was 14 that I got into acting. And it was because of dancing that brought me into acting too, because I was first a background dancer in this one random show. And it was my dance studio that was like, okay, like here, like if you guys want to be a part of this. So I went there and I was on set and I'm like, damn, this is really cool. Like I wanna try to do something like this one day. This is so neat.
They all complement each other in a way too, even if you don't think about it much. But like the acting complements the music and vice versa, doesn't it? Because it's all storytelling, like we said too.
Oh, 100%. All storytelling. Like, and when you feel, I don't know, like you feel a lot sometimes, and it's just like perfect to have all these different outlets, and they're all similar, but also really different at the same time. And I think that acting brings out, all these different parts of people, and you get to try on being another person for a day, which is just so awesome. But within music, you kind of, when you're writing in music, at least the way that I write, it's very personal. So it's kind of like a personal diary entry a lot of the times when you're sharing your stories, and it feels very personal that way when you go and share that with the world. So,
and I feel like it's different for each kind of musician, but when is that kind, because there's always going to be moments where you have this idea for a song and then you're like, oh, this is going to be sick, right? Like this is going to be cool and everything. You know what I mean? Like it's always going to happen, because I used to play in bands and everything. PD Beats was like my stage name because I played drums.
Oh, no way!
Yes.
What?
Yes. 100%.
Get out of here. Wait, like a rock band? Like
yeah,
what kind
I played in a lot of like heavy metal bands and a lot of that crazy stuff. Yeah, so I was actually.
What did you play? What was your instrument?
I was a drummer, PD Beats. That was like my stage name. Yeah.
So cool. Oh
yeah. So like, but like music was like one of the first loves, because when I was like 17, 18, I was like a concert promoter and everything. So like,
oh my gosh,
you see a lot of things. Yeah, so you're like well, when you're 17, 18, dealing with like, a lot of bands and like, venues, pretty chaotic. You learn a lot, you see a lot.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Probably too much at that age too, honestly.
No, but it's just like, I love conversations with musicians, Zenia, in regards to like their process of like how they feel about a song.
Oh,
so like,
yeah.
my question is like, is it when you're like writing it, you're like, oh, this is gonna be cool? Is it when you hear it like playback, like when you record it? Like when is that for you, or does it depend on the song?
Honestly, okay. So I feel like
I feel like I hit something that you're like, oh my God, I was like thinking about this, sort of like
honestly, like I'm laughing because when I think about every time that I've written a song, like I never start it feeling like, ooh, this is gonna be good. Like I always start it being like, this is utter trash. Like these lyrics are trash. Like, oh yeah, this is bad. Oh, it's only 4 chords. Like there's just like so many.
Well, don't get me wrong, some are gonna be trash, but some you might be like, ooh, there's a cool melody here. Yeah.
I think that everything, like honestly, in the beginning, I start as least judgmental as I can. I think out of all my elements, I'm like the least harsh on myself when it comes to songwriting, because I don't put too much pressure on it. I just feel like there's just so many different types of songs out there that there's no reason to put that much pressure on it, because you could have a song that's super deep and then you can have another song that's like hella not deep and maybe has like 4 words on it and like repeats, and for me, I'm just kind of like, music's music, and like I love all music, so I'm like, okay, so don't put too much pressure on it. So in the beginning, I'm just kind of like writing in the mud, and it's just kind of whatever I'm feeling or whatever comes to mind. Sometimes it's like different stories and I'm putting myself in someone else's shoes, but a lot of the time it is quite personal to me, and those are the ones that work out the best, because eventually it's just kind of like a diary entry. It's just like super personal. It just feels like things just kind of like fall out of you as you're writing. And then you get to a point where you're like, oh my gosh, now I have to share this? Like, should I share this? Is this too much? Like, do people want to feel sad with
this? It's like in your hands, but then it's not going to be in your hands. It's going to be out there.
Exactly. But honestly, like the best part of the process is when you're, well, there's a couple actually, like the first time that you hear it from the producer, like when you're fleshing out the instruments. I'm a solo artist, so I don't have a band of musicians around me, which would be so cool. So I don't really hear anything like a finished, fleshed out result until I'm working with a producer. And the producers that I've worked with are great friends, and they're so, so talented. And whenever I hear back their versions, it gets me so excited. And to be in the studio working with them hand in hand to do like every little thing, because I'm very meticulous, I guess, with how I want things to sound. Usually I go into it with like a vision of what I want for this particular story. And then when I hear what they do, it just blows me away. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is so cool. It's starting to sound like an actual song. And then you get past that point and you record it. You got to get over your vocal performance at somewhere along the way. And then at the very end, when you hear the final mix and master, you're like, this is an actual thing. And it's going on.
It's a very long process
now.
to get to that.
In the beginning, you're like, oh yeah, this is horrible. This is never leaving.
When
this
I answer that question, you're like, I have to give, but I'm glad you gave me the whole. I'm glad you gave me the whole like experience.
Honestly,
no, it's great.
You talk to me about music. I'm gonna give you everything, Peter. I'm gonna give you everything.
Oh no, it's so great, and people can listen to music literally wherever they listen to music. Right, you're on all the platforms: Spotify, Apple Music,
iTunes. All my music videos out on YouTube.
Awesome, and It's a Wonderful Knife is streaming now on Shudder and AMC Plus.
Oh yeah.
So you can check that out. Zenia, so fun, so much fun chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, so much fun chatting with you. Thank you so much for having me on Popternative. It was a blast.
Of course. Instagram is just your name, right? Zenia Marshall.
Yep.
So they can just follow everything and keep up to date with everything. There's some you posted about Knife recently too. There's some BTS stuff coming out.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah. Lots of pictures. Way too many pictures I posted.
Awesome. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative. Previous episodes you can catch Zenia Marshall as Darla. And It's a Wonderful Knife streaming now on Shudder and on AMC Plus. Until next time, this is Zenia and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.